The phone shattered the fragile quiet of our cramped kitchen like a gunshot, my mom's voice slicing through the receiver before I could even say hello. "Malachi, you're killing us, you and those kids of yours. We're done carrying your burdens." Her words hung there, venomous and final, as my 5-year-old son, Theo, tugged at my jeans with sticky fingers, oblivious to the way my world cracked open right there over the sink full of unwashed dishes. I dropped the phone, not because I was angry, but because my hands were shaking too hard to hold on, and in that instant, I saw it all. The years of sidelong glances at family barbecues, the whispered judgments about my lifestyle, the way they'd pretended my adoption papers for Theo and little Jamie were just a phase I'd outgrow. But this was the end of the rope, frayed and snapped, leaving me dangling over the abyss of a single-dad life in this godforsaken Ohio suburb where dreams went to die under fluorescent grocery store lights. I'd always known loving men made me a target in my folks' eyes. Small-town Baptists who saw my queerness as some kind of original sin they could pray away. But adopting Theo and Jamie 2 years back? That flipped the script from disappointment to outright exile. "You're selfish, Mal," Dad had growled at Thanksgiving, his fork stabbing at the turkey like it was my heart. "Dragging us into your mess. Who'll pick up the pieces when it all falls apart?" Mom nodded, her lips a thin line, and that was that. No more holiday invites, no more emergency cash when the car broke down. Just radio silence, punctuated by guilt-trip voicemails about how I was ruining the family name. Life ground on anyway, a relentless treadmill of double shifts at the auto parts warehouse, where the air smelled like oil and regret, and the guys ribbed me about my bathtub gin weekends. Code for solo Netflix binges with the boys piled on my lap. Theo, with his wild curls and endless questions about why the stars looked sad at night, and Jamie, the quiet 3-year-old who clung to me like a koala. They were my anchors, my reason. But anchors drag you down when the water's this deep. Rent was late again. The fridge hummed with emptiness, and every night I lay awake staring at the water stains on the ceiling, wondering if I was enough. That's when Xavier walked into my life like a plot twist I didn't see coming. It was a rainy Tuesday at the community center's free parenting workshop. Me there for the coffee and the AC, nursing a styrofoam cup while Theo finger-painted hurricanes on construction paper. Xavier was the facilitator, this tall, broad-shouldered black man in his early 40s with a voice like warm gravel, the kind that wrapped around you and made the room feel less hollow. He had laugh lines etched deep from what I guessed were years of real joy, and eyes that locked onto yours like he was memorizing your soul. "Single dads, y'all got it rougher than most," he said that first night, scanning the circle of folding chairs. His gaze landed on me, and I swear the fluorescent buzz dimmed. "But you're not alone in this fight. Who's got a story?" Hands shot up, but mine stayed glued to my knees until he nodded my way. "You in the back, Malachi, right? Spill it." I did, halting at first, then in a rush. The folks' rejection, the endless hustle, the bone-deep fear that one bad day would rip my boys away. Xavier listened, chin propped on his fist, and when I trailed off, he leaned forward. "That's not a story, man. That's a battle cry. And battles? They need allies." After the group wrapped, he cornered me by the snack table, handing over a crumpled napkin with his number scrawled in Sharpie. "Coffee sometime, not as a pity date, as backup." Our first rail hang was at that dingy diner off Route 71, the one with the jukebox stuck on Johnny Cash. Rain hammered the windows as I stirred too much sugar into my black coffee, nerves jangling like loose change. Xavier slid into the booth across from me, smelling faintly of sandalwood and motor oil. Turns out he fixed trucks on the side, moonlighting to fund his nonprofit for queer families. "So, Mal," he said, that grin flashing white against his skin. "Tell me about those tornadoes you call kids." We talked for hours, about how he'd lost his sister to cancer young, how it carved him hollow until he started the center to fill other voids, about my ex, Derek, who'd bailed when the adoption papers hit the table, muttering something about not being cut out for this. Xavier didn't flinch at the gay dad label. He leaned in, sharing his own scars from a marriage that crumbled under small-town scrutiny. "Love ain't linear, brother," he said, his hand brushing mine across the formica. "It's a damn detour, but the views? Worth every pothole." From there, it snowballed slow, like the first thaw after a brutal winter. Xavier started showing up unannounced. A pizza drop-off after my overtime shift, Theo giggling as Xavier taught him to braid dough into pretzels. Lazy Sundays at the park where Jamie toddled after fireflies and Xavier pulled me aside for stolen kisses under the oaks, his lips tasting like mint and possibility. He was steady, the kind of man who fixed your leaky faucet without making you feel small, who whispered, "You're doing good, Mal, real good," when doubt clawed at me in the dark. But love's a fragile thing in a world that loves to break it. The conflict hit like a freight train 6 months in, on a sweltering July evening when my phone lit up with Dad's number. First time in months. "Your mother's sick," he barked, voice gravel over the line. "Cancer. Needs help. We're selling the house. Your inheritance, such as it is." I froze in the living room, Xavier pausing the movie, his arm around my shoulders. Inheritance? We joked about it bitterly, but this felt like salt in the wound. I drove to the old family home in Cleveland the next day, kids in tow, Xavier offering to come but me waving him off. This is my mess. The house loomed like a bad memory, sagging porch and all. Mom lay propped in bed, frail as tissue paper, Dad hovering like a storm cloud. They thawed a fraction at the boys, Theo's chatter about dinosaurs drawing a ghost of a smile from her, but the air crackled with unspoken accusations. That night, over takeout meatloaf, Dad dropped the bomb. "We're liquidating everything, Mal, including that cabin up in the Hocking Hills. Your grandma's old place." My gut twisted. That cabin was sanctuary, where I'd hidden out after coming out at 17, licking wounds by the fire pit. "But it's in my name," I stammered. He shrugged, eyes cold. "Family trust. Needs to go for medical bills. You're not part of this anymore. You made that clear with your choices." Betrayal burned hot, sharper than any rejection before. They weren't just cutting me out. They were erasing me, selling off pieces of my history to fund their denial. I stormed out at dawn, boys bundled in the back seat, tears blurring the highway lines. Xavier was waiting on my stoop when we pulled up, thermos of coffee in hand. "Talk to me," he said, pulling me into a hug that smelled like home. I spilled it all, the cabin, the greed masked as necessity, the way they'd looked at Theo and Jamie like expensive liabilities. He held me as I raged, then quieted me with a kiss that tasted like forgiveness I didn't deserve. "They're ghosts, Mel. You're the future. Us the boys. That's the legacy." We leaned on each other harder after that. Xavier's center became our second home. He even looped in a lawyer buddy pro bono to contest the trust. But money was the real monster under the bed. Bills piled like accusations, my warehouse hours cut after a slowdown. One desperate night, flipping channels while the boys slept, I spotted the Powerball jackpot. $200 million. Odds be damned. On a whim, Xavier's whim, really, he joked about manifesting abundance. I bought a ticket at the corner Quick Mart. Numbers pulled from Theo's birthday and Jamie's first word. The drawing aired 2 days later, a Tuesday blur of work and daycare drop-offs. I checked the ticket during lunch, heart thudding as the numbers aligned. 7-14-23-42-56. Powerball 12. One by one, like stars falling into place. I won. Holy hell, I won. $200 million. After taxes, a life-altering fortune that hit me like vertigo. I stumbled out to the parking lot, ticket clutched in my fist, and called Xavier first. Sobbing, laughing, words tumbling over each other. "Babe, it's real. We're free." The climax unfolded in a whirlwind. Press conferences in Columbus, lawyers swarming like benevolent bees, headlines screaming, "Single gay dad's miracle windfall." My folks caught wind fast. Mom's hospital room TV blaring the story, Dad's panicked voicemail hitting my inbox. "Malachi, we need to talk. Family sticks together." Irony tasted bitter. They showed up at my door a week later, uninvited. Mom in a wheelchair, Dad's face a mask of forced humility. "We were wrong," he muttered, eyes darting to the boys playing in the yard. "Proud of you, son. Let us make it right." Xavier stood sentinel beside me, hand firm on my shoulder, while Theo and Jamie watched from the window, wide-eyed. Temptation gnawed. Forgiveness as the ultimate humanism, a chance to rewrite the script. But betrayal's scar ran deep, a reminder that love can't be bartered. "You called us burdens," I said, voice steady for the first time in years. But we're not. We're enough. I handed them a check, modest, for Mom's treatments, no strings, no reconciliation. Take care of her. That's all I owe. They left with heads bowed, the door clicking shut like a full stop. In the quiet aftermath, Xavier pulled me close on the couch we'd splurged on with the first winnings. Soft leather, big enough for 4. You did good, Mal, he murmured, fingers tracing my jaw. The boys tumbled in, demanding stories of Daddy's magic ticket. And we wove one together. A tale of hidden treasures and brave hearts, where the real jackpot was the family we'd forged from fragments. We moved to a sprawling Victorian Inn and Arbor that fall, room for a home office where Xavier expanded his center, a backyard swing set echoing with laughter, space for Theo's science kits and Jamie's finger paints. No more scraping by, no more ghosts at the feast. I started a foundation for queer single parents, funneling millions into grants and safe houses, turning my pain into possibility. Xavier and I, we made it official under a Michigan maple in October. Rings simple gold bands engraved with Detour's End. The wedding was small, close friends, the boys in tiny tuxes tossing leaves like confetti. But the vows? They sealed us, raw and real. I choose you, every jagged mile. Looking back, that lottery wasn't luck. It was the universe's wry nod, handing me the tools to build what blood couldn't. My folks faded to holiday cards and distant updates. Mom in remission, Dad softened by time, but the wound healed into wisdom. We're all burdens, in the end, if you squint hard enough. But chosen ones? They lift you. And in this American patchwork of heartbreaks and horizons, that's the story worth telling. Not the win, but the weight we carry together, light as hope.